Hi and welcome to Homo Ludens, the channel on history and board games. Even though we're not going to be necessarily talking about history in this stream, but we see about that maybe a bit. And I'm joined by Dan Thurot from Space Biff. Thanks again for being here, and in a continuation of a series that we started a while back, but we have a frequency of one video per year, which is not ideal. Maybe something that we need to be working on, where we play all of the games in the Pax series and talk about them. This time we're going to be playing Pax Transhumanity, which is for me thematically a not Pax that I never really looked into before, but I got more and more interested in, and I'm super excited to play for the first time. You, Dan, I think you've played it quite a bit. What's your relationship with Pax Transhumanity?
So I have played it a lot. And it's been a while, but I did play it a few weeks ago to try to refresh myself. So I think it's a fascinating game. I think it is a very troubling game in some ways, but I do enjoy playing this. I've introduced it to a number of people, so hopefully I can help introduce it to some of you.
Yeah, really excited about this troubling game. This is, I don't know what to expect, but that could be really interesting. Surprisingly, just a couple of hours ago, I was recording an interview with Matt Eklund for another project, and the two videos overlapped. That was completely unplanned, and that was pretty funny because I got to talk to him about his design work and about Pax Transhumanity before playing it. So I'm actually looking forward to see some of the in action, some of the things that we actually talked about. And I can see that there is already quite a few of you in the chat. Really nice of you to be joining us. We're going to be playing using TTS tonight. And I can see that Sam from Lord of the Board is here. Always happy to have you on there. Arnaud, welcome. Olivier, hello. And
Hi,
Versus,
Sam.
I'm really sorry to be on time this time. That wasn't planned. That's very unusual. That's very unusual. Okay, but I guess let's jump into TTS. So I'm going to launch TTS. While I do this, do you want to maybe give a bit of an intro to what is Pax Transhumanity?
Okay, so I'm going to give the least biased version, I think. So Pax Transhumanity is a entry in the Pax series by Matt Eklund, not Phil Eklund. And in Pax Transhumanity, we are creating the future through the usual Pax systems of using markets and acting as middlemen. And we are going to try to take various ideas and transform them through research and syndication and commercialization to try to shape the future. One of the underlying theses of this game is that the future will not be dystopian, that these ideas are going to be used for good, probably. For ideas that are being used for good, there is still a lot of potential danger in this game. And we could end up obsoleting humanity by accident. But, hopefully we won't. And that's the gist. So very much like other PAX games where it has a huge emphasis on markets and functioning as middlemen who are rising up to do middleman stuff.
Good. I think that looks like a pretty good introduction. I'm trying to share the right screen, if I'm able to do that. Yes, here we are. I think it's like the so that's the thing that I was the most curious about, that very optimistic approach to science, even if there are potential downsides. And it's something that I played a lot of Interstellar last year, and it's something that actually quite surprised me. I don't know if you've played Interstellar, Dan. Dan, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, what did I play?
I was wondering if you played Interstellar.
What was it?
Interstellar by Phil Eklund. You know, the big the game where you're in a spaceship and you go from Earth and try to land somewhere.
No, I actually haven't. I have the 4th edition.
Okay.
And I it's very intimidating.
It's actually not that bad in terms of complexity. It looks very intimidating, but it's actually very playable. And the thing that I was mostly surprised about, and that could be actually a game that I could teach you if you want, if
Oh
we
yeah,
were players. It's gonna be a long.
let's schedule it for 3 years from now.
Exactly. But the thing that I was surprised about with this game was that even though you're always in a very dire situation, everything is against you. It felt like when you were looking at the market, every solution was there. So technology was going to solve any problem that we were going to be impacted by, which I thought was, even though it was pretty dark as a setting, in a way, it was very optimistic. And I was wondering if this was going to be the same or if it was going to be slightly different. But anyway, back to the game, and I'll stop rambling about stuff. Sorry about that.
Well, do we want to? Should I jump into the teach or what?
Yeah, I think the way we can do it is like have a very like brief teach overview and then explain actions while we play. How do you think?
Sure. So I can teach it, and I understand that you have read the rules, so you know a little
somewhat
bit.
Yeah, I'll know a little bit. Yeah, I know how to pay for stuff. That's the thing. Yeah,
that's the main thing, right? So the gist is that yes, so we are going to play as like I said, middlemen. So I'm going to be a blogger, and it looks like you're a doctor. So accurate, right? Like we both got our we both got our job. And although ironically, well, I won't say anything. Okay, so what we're going to be trying to do is we are going to be spending wealth and capital in order to take these ideas and try to do things with them. So there's a few basic actions. The gist of every turn is that you're going to take 2 actions, and those actions are going to allow you to move these cards around. This is always a little intimidating to first-time players. This is the simplified setup for a shorter game. It's really great for new players because it's not quite so in your face. There aren't quite as many cards. I think there's 2 more columns of cards in the full game, which makes it kind of frightening. So what we're going to do, so let's talk about each of the actions in turn. And I might editorialize just a teensy bit to talk about what they represent in game, because I found in teaching this to new players that often helps them understand things. So if you come down to one of these player boards, oh yeah, good, you're highlighting yours. So the fundraise action is how we're going to interact with that. So as you can see at the start of the game, you have those little pips on there. That shows you where your starting cubes are. Those cubes are agents. Agents are going to represent the various people who are working for you in various capacities. And when you fundraise, this is how you're going to move these cubes around, which is important because you often are going to have to pay costs. And whenever you pay a cost, what you do is you take one of these agents and you move it down 1 box. So if you need to pay 3, for instance, you could do it like that. There, I just paid 3. You can also pay 1, 2. You can do that kind of thing. Now, you're going to, unfortunately, when things get down here into debt, they are stuck. That is not great. Although I found that people who play this game well tend to run quite heavy into debt. So it's not necessarily bad. It can prove limiting. So the fundraise action is how you are going to, you're going to move these cubes up. Now, as we play, these cubes are going to be moving to other places because remember, they represent agents. They are people who are working for you. So it's possible that one of these cubes will move off your board to become a patent or to become an employee in a company. And that means they're not on your board anymore, but those, because they are people, they are agents, they are still going to be able to come back to your board. So when you fundraise, you can see kind of the 3 major steps of fundraiser up there in the top left of the card. The first thing you can do is divestments. What that means is you can take any agents that are placed anywhere on the table with one exception, and you can move them to wealth. So if this agent here was over being a patent, you could take it off and put it on wealth. That is allowed. Then what you're going to do is you are going to rescue 1 debt for every capital. So what that means is, so right now I have 2 capital. Let's pretend I had 3 debt. That means I would take 2 of my debt and move it up into wealth. Technically, the way the rules present this is you're moving capital down to rescue wealth, but it really doesn't matter. That's kind of a Phil Eklund explanation of his own rules, because the third step is that capital accumulation, every single cube in wealth will move up to capital. So you really don't need to move the things from capital down to wealth first. I don't know why that's in there, probably to make some sort of economic point. I don't know. And that's fundraise. So that's how you're going to get your cubes up here so that you can spend them. And if you ever get frozen because you have too many cubes stuck in debt, it isn't uncommon for somebody at some point in the game to just spend their turn doing 2 fundraise actions, which always feels terrible, but does tend to rescue you from crippling debt. Okay, so that's the first action. So we should look over here at the board now.
Yep.
So over here, you can see that there are 4 spheres representing different spheres of thought, both physically and conceptually. And each of these spheres has to do with something different. So you've got the first world, you've got the developing world, you have the cloud, sort of the internet of ideas, and you have physically outer space. And in each of these spheres, you're going to have a number of idea cards. Most of the game is about these idea cards. And ideas are going to have a bunch of icons on them. We'll get to them. It's easy to panic at this point in the game. But one of the first things you need to know is that you want to get cubes onto these ideas. So the way that you're going to get a cube on here is an action called Syndicate. And this is how you're going to send agents from your board to place them physically on ideas. And there's a few steps for this. The first one is that you have to pay its cost. So its cost is going to correspond to the row that it's on. So down here, these are ideas that are fairly in the public consciousness, so they cost 0. Up here, I would have to pay 1. And it goes up. It goes up quite rapidly to 3 and to 5. And more than that, it starts to double, as if an idea is already syndicated, whether by yourself or anybody else. It's going to cost double to place a cube on it. Now, I misspoke. You shouldn't put a cube on your own syndication. That's illegal. But if I wanted to come up here and learn about designer proteins, right now I have a cube here. Fred might want to go here. It would double. So instead of costing 3, it would cost 6. Which is pretty expensive in game terms, right? So the main way to pay costs, again, is by moving those little wealth things, your agents, down. Moving 6 steps down is a lot of motion. So be careful about costs. So you're going to pay the cost. That's the first thing you have to do. The next thing you can do is you will actually physically place the agent on the card. Whenever you place agents, they have to come from your topmost section. So if you had 1 piece left over in capital, you would have to take that one, which is always disappointing. But that's what you're going to do. Now, there's 2 little icons that might appear. They don't always. They're on the side here of the cards. There's white ones and there's black ones. So for smart mobs, right? So smart mobs are this notion of like software networks where all sorts of individuals are basically on this huge social media platform, and they're very conscious of the world's problems. And so you are solving problems by networking various people. So if I place one of my cubes here, I have the option, because this is a black spot, of placing another cube to cover it. That is called heat, and that represents potential problems with the technology. Now, you are required, so up here, designer proteins, this has a white heat. So that's kind of more of like a real problem, I suppose, in the design.
Or short-term problem.
Yeah, maybe short-term problem. So you must place the cube on that to cover the heat. Whereas if it's black, you just have the option of covering the heat. These cubes are going to be important. But one thing that's important is, because they are stuck on heat, you may not divest them. They are stuck there. There is a different way to get them back. You can't divest them when you're doing the fundraise action, because they are actively solving a problem. So for example, over here, right, open access research, I place one here. I am required to cover the white heat, but I can choose if I cover the black heat. Kind of the last step is you can do what's called a surge. So some cards will have this icon, which this shows that smart mobs, flash reorganization, this notion that society is going to be very flexible because of this networking. So I could, after I place an agent here through syndication, I could place another cube for free on a card above it, but only if it matches the suit of this card, which, as you can see, this card is green. So perhaps if open access research had been over here, I could place a cube on it as well. And again, I would have to cover that white heat mandatorily and could choose to cover that black heat. So that's a surge. Often you can use surges, especially lower down, for very cheaply jump up your syndications quite rapidly to cover new ideas.
Is the card that you're placing on the cube after the surge, if it already contains the cube of an opponent, does that change anything? Or
I don't believe it does. That Phil has a lot of Matt as well, but they tend to have these weird little edge rules. I don't believe it does. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just curious about it. Yeah.
Oh no, not at all. That's a good question. Also, I should disclaim that one of the things that's tricky about any of the Eklund's games is they use living rules. So it's possible that my understanding of the rules is outdated. They may have changed something. So if I teach you incorrectly, I am so sorry.
And maybe a moment to say that if you're in the chat and you know the game pretty well, if we're making a rules mistake, please just let us know. That would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, you can correct me, and I will try to adjust my understanding of the future on the fly. That is fine.
Oh, and Arno is saying that having a cube only stops a few things, like taking them into your think tank or
yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, having an opposing syndication is not like this isn't an area control game. It impedes a couple of actions, which we'll get to, but it's not very important, to be honest. Okay,
so that was syndication.
Yes. Now, I always teach the rules out of order because I have no idea where I commercialize this next because it's the complicated one. So let's jump over to higher. So let's look at the first world up here. So when you're looking at the first world, any of these spheres, what you're going to notice is that there are these bubbles and there are squares. These are going to represent various companies. Certain actions are going to require you to do what is called work. And in order to do work, you're going to have these cubes that will be placed on various areas, whether bubbles or squares. And to do work, you must take a cube and move it down. So in a sense, degrading its position within the industry. There are two types of work. Over here, you see a light bulb that represents thinker work. And over on the right, you see a hand which represents maker work. In the middle, they can function as either. So you're going to want to get cubes over here to do various types of work. Well, how do you get them over there? Well, the way you do that is you are going to pay 3. It's the higher action. It's very simple. And you'll just place a cube on an open space. And that's hiring. The limitation here is mostly, there's a couple things you should know. The first one is that there can only be 1 cube in a bubble. And there can be 1 of each player's cubes in one of these square spaces. These square spaces are public utilities, so they are going to function a little bit differently. Phil and I gather Matt, I don't know Matt's perspective as well, but there is sort of this approach that private companies are inherently more efficient than public institutions. So doing work out of utilities is going to not be as useful as doing it out of private companies. Now, when you move things down to the very bottom, they're going to go here into unemployment. That's going to be, you can, again, when you fundraise, you can divest this for free back into your wealth. But actually, it is kind of useful sometimes, this is a bit of an advanced strategy, to have stuff sitting around in unemployment, because if you hire rather than taking the highest cube out of your own board, you can take it from
here.
unemployment. Yep. So you can take it straight out of unemployment to any opening within that sphere. So that can be useful for hiring up. Sorry, go ahead, Fred.
But it has to stay in the same sphere, right? Like
It does.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're trained in the first world, you're not going to know what to do in the cloud necessarily. So you kind of hire within your own expertise. So that's hiring. The only other thing you really need to know about hiring is that as we play, there are going to be ways that we get what are called companies. Companies are big discs that are going to go over these spaces. When you hire, if you hire into your own company like this, it is a free action. Now, what I mean by free action is it doesn't cost one of your two actions. You still have to pay the $3 to do it. Usually late in the game, $3 is nothing. So an extra action is a huge boon. So be aware that hiring into your own company is quite powerful. Okay, so that's hiring. Now, let's talk about research. So research is going to be how we utilize these cards and also how we refresh, because you'll notice that 2 of the 4 spheres are not full of cards. They are partially empty. How do we refill them? Well, most of the game, when you remove a card from a sphere, it will not automatically refresh it. Now there's just going to be a gap in the ideas in that sphere. Well, research is going to let us do some stuff with these cards, and it's going to let you refresh these markets. So in order to research, you have a couple of limitations. First of all, you must have syndicated that idea. So you do have to have a cube on it. The second thing is that you're going to have to pay what's called the barrier cost. So if we look up here, we're going to see the barrier cost is, you look at those number of stop signs in that sphere. Right now, there are 2 stop signs. One is cynicism and the other is dark money. These are the worst thing in fiduciary media, which we have solved with our company. Now, if I had an agent act here that I had hired, that does block when I assess the cost. So right now I would only have 1 stop sign preventing me from researching. Now, here's the problem. That cost, so currently it's 1, right? That will be doubled if the work is not subsidized. There's a few ways to subsidize work. Sometimes like the current global scheme, the regime is what we call it, maybe that will subsidize it. That isn't always the case. More commonly, the way that you can subsidize work is if you do the work out of a company. So the company is underwriting it. So if my agent was here, there's 2 of these. They are not doubled because I'm using this work to do it. The other way is if you are going to use a public, one of the utilities. So in this case, Western universities. So they are going to underwrite the cost. So in this case, it would only cost 2 instead of 4. So you will need to do thinker work specifically in order to do research. So I've found out the cost. So right now it's 4. So I'm going to move my cube down to do that thinker work. Now, what I have an option of doing is I will now remove the lowest idea in the sphere. In this case, that is smart mobs. And then I will slide everything down and refresh it. So we have done research. There are new ideas going around. As for the card that I want to research, what that's going to do for me is I can do one of 2 major things with that card. The first is that I can use it for patents. So I've removed a card. We're going to use it for patents, maybe. So what patents would be is, in this case, you can see that this card is in the green suit, which is group dynamics or something like that. I never remember all the names. And both sides of it are green. Cards are often, they fit 2 of the 4 suits, like designer proteins here. I can place patents from that card up. I think we do it separately. Yep,
Yeah,
we do it here. Yeah. So I could take 2 of my agents from my wealth board and put them here into group dynamics. So now I have a couple of patents. This is another way to pay for actions, is you can use patents or to make it so that you can commercialize ideas. Now, there is a limitation. You cannot gain patents if you use the utility. Those patents belong to the government. So that would preclude the option of using patents. The other option that I can do with this card, though, is I can turn it into a think tank. So I would take this card and I would put it right here on my board. Now, if the card has an ability, this one does not, but if the card did have an ability, I would gain that ability to use. And I now have, as you can see, a green bar and a green bar. That gives me a double green. That will matter for what we call viability, kind of like you can use patents for viability. Now, the limitation on this is I cannot make a think tank if an opponent had syndicated that card. That's kind of the big limitation there. So if an opponent's cube had been on there, I would be blocked out of using it as a think tank. But in either case, we are getting rid of that bottom card and we are refreshing the market. So when it comes to the cloud and space, two areas where we haven't really developed yet, this is how we're going to fill up those markets, is through research. Currently, though, that's going to be incredibly cost prohibitive because, like, you look at the cloud, in order to research there, we've currently got 5 barriers. It would be doubled to 10 cost, which is bananas in this game. So that is research. That's how we move cards around. Okay, I know that's wordy. Some of the actions in this game are insane. Fredo, do you have any questions?
For now, I'm good. I think.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank goodness. Okay, so let's talk about placating. So like I said, when you're putting these cubes out, you're kind of freaking out the normies. So I put this cube on smart mobs. People are worried that these collaborative networks are going to create sheeple. So here I have a heat. Like I said, you cannot divest heat normally when you fundraise. Instead, you can take the placate action. That means you are going to spend a ton of funding and PR and, dare I say, propaganda into encouraging people to not believe that this is a problem anymore. So placate heat is going to let you take this off and put it into your wealth. That's how you divest heat. Now that we understand how heat even gets generated. Okay, the next action is import. That's how you're going to move cards around into blank spaces. Import is pretty easy. You can just move a card into a gap. So if I really wanted this...
So we could do something like this, for example, if we wanted
exactly.
to. Yeah.
The limitation is you cannot import if it is syndicated by... an opponent. Yeah. If it has your own syndication, that's fine. The syndication will move with it, the cube, as well as any heat that you're currently covering. So if you have, if there's an idea that's just incredible in another sphere that you want moved into a sphere where you have a bunch of companies and everything, you can import it. Very easy action. Okay, now we are on to kind of the big action, the one that I honestly... Fred, my heart is beating a little faster just thinking about this action because not only because it's so exciting, but because I don't like teaching it because it's such a pain in the butt to teach this this action. This is going to be commercialize. So this is how you're going to take an idea and really put it to good use. And it is the most complicated. There's a bunch of steps, but I'm going to do my best to walk you through them. So the first is you're going to look for a card that you want to commercialize. There are a few prerequisites. It has to be syndicated. Okay, well, here I have syndicated smart mobs. That's easy, right? The second thing is it has to be viable. And this is usually where people who are listening to the game, their eyes glaze over a little bit. So viability, there are a couple of ways to make a card viable. The first is, so up here we have the future splay. This is human progress. Right now, our splay has exactly one card in it. We have one assembly card for scramjets that is in here. So a card, as we play cards and commercialize them, they're going to go into this splay. And we will always be organizing them so that one side is going to tuck under there. This is going to make it possible for new ideas to be commercialized. So an idea is viable if there is a pair in there that matches the pair of that are the suits of the card. So smart mobs would be viable, for instance, if we looked up here and there was a green and a green adjacent to each other.
Yeah.
Now, there is an exception. If an opponent has a cube on one of those greens and you don't, then they can use it, but you can't.
Okay.
So in this case, nothing is really viable, right? Through human progress, through the splay. So too bad. Smart mobs can't be made viable that way. Well, you might, if you're an astute listener, you might have noticed that this would actually make it impossible to play this game if that was the only way for anything to be viable, because you can't make a pair when there's only one in there. Well, there are a couple of other ways to make something viable. The first is your think tank. So if I had a card down in my think tank, and I just taught you how to get a card there through research, and it was green in this case, then I could use it to make smart mobs viable. The idea is that when smart mobs goes out, because it's commercialized, I would take my think tank card and actually put it back in that gap. And that's one way to use think tanks. So right here, just in our starting board, good players of this game are often looking for cards that they can think tank in order to commercialize other cards. For instance, just here, you could use Telomere Life Extension to put that in your think tank in order to say, okay, now I'm going to use that to make Nanochondria viable. That's possible. Well, there's one more way to make something viable, and that's by spending patents. So over here, I have 2 green patents. You also get patents through research. I explained how you do that with the research action. You can spend 2 patents that match this card. So in this case, green. So what you would do is you would divest those. They go back to the wealth, and that will make the card viable. Okay. So those are the 2 huge prerequisites. You have to have it syndicated, and it must be viable in one of those 3 ways. Crucially, you cannot mix and match those, right? You can't have like one card in the human progress splay and one patent. It has to be either the human progress splay or patents or your think tank in order to make a card viable. Now that it's viable, so let's say I spent my 2 patents, now Smart Mobs is viable. Now you have to pay the cost to actually develop that idea. As with research, you're going to look up here and you're going to take a look at the barrier cost. In this case, it's 1, and you're going to do maker work. So work from this side of the board and therefore move something down and then and pay the cost, which in this case was
when you
2.
move something down, you have the option to follow any of the arrows. So you could move here.
That is correct.
Move here.
Yeah.
Or
In this case, I would
implement.
almost certainly put it into my company, because that would be a little more powerful. Now, there is a corner case. Like, here, Fred, I'm going to steal one of your cubes and put it here. Let's say that you're in my company here. Because you're in my company, either one of us can use this work. So I could actually take your cube and move it down to unemployment. Which, if you were really inventing smart mobs, I would think you wouldn't become unemployed, because I think you'd be a tech genius. But in this game, you have done that work. I'm going to move you down so I can use your cube. So you want to be cautious about placing your cubes on other people's companies.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I was working in your company. I invented smart mobs. You kicked me out of the company after I did this and took the benefit.
Credit.
And then out of unemployment, I can start working on cynicism because of my past experiences,
Yeah. So you can solve cynicism because you wouldn't be cynical.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I thought I was going to develop cynicism.
Yeah, you could invent cynicism because I fired you for your invention. So so you'll pay the cost on your board or whatever, and you will move down a worker. And now we can get into the meat of commercialize. All of that was just a way to, those were the prerequisites, right? Now we actually get to do what's on the card. What we do is all of these icons, and there are so many icons, and I know they're intimidating, but we are going to go from top to bottom and do all of these icons.
There is a small Rosetta Stone here that we'll look at while we play, just to, at least I will, just to remind myself what they do.
Yeah. Now, all sorts of things. So I'll just give you an example because we're using smart mobs, so our listeners can kind of know a little bit about what to expect. So this first one, for instance, is industry disruption. So in this case, it's green and green. So because the industry has been so disrupted by smart mobs, it has changed society. A couple of things are going to happen. The first is that all patents in green are going to be divested. They are obsolete. They go back to their players. So smart mobs is just such a new way of thinking about how social media should work and so forth, that previous patents are not going to be worthwhile anymore. The other thing that this is going to do is up here in the human progress display, it is going to actually remove a card that is green, because here the icon is green. It's green or green. Sometimes when the card is dual suited, it'll show two, like here's yellow and orange. So I could choose which kind of card. And I could choose which patents are obsoleted. Yeah. But in this case, it's just going to be green. So that is the industry disruption. The second one is, and you want to keep an eye out for this icon. This is a company startup. This is how you're going to actually get those discs out there. So in this case, what that shows is the outside and the color of it are going to show which sphere it goes into. So in this case, I am going to be founding a company in space. In the cloud.
In the cloud.
Yep, because I'm using these smart networks. And specifically, this company is going to be a maker company because it shows the little hand. So I can choose which issue I am founding my company to solve. Now, early on, kind of the temptation is, get yourself in the middle, because then you can do either thinker work or maker work, or to put yourself really up high, right? So that you can do multiple works. If I put it here as my first action, that I'm your average Silicon Valley idiot founder. Because I put it into something that is not necessary to be solved, not as useful. Okay, so that's that icon, right? Sometimes you'll see icons like that will say a specific company. Like if you look up here at flywheels, this one is specifically trying to solve energy density in outer space. This is the only way that you can replace an opponent's company, because you are a radical startup, or whatever the term is. So someone else has it. So the only place I can put that company, I guess, is energy density, and I can replace an opposing company. Okay, so those impacts are very common. Down here, this is a bummer. We have caused an exoglobal recession, which Phil Eklund in the footnotes notes is the politically correct term for a depression. So everyone is going to have to fire one of their workers and actually throw it out of the game. So that's bad because you don't have that many cubes. But for the person who's actually commercializing this icon is common too. I get to take a new agent from the pool and put it into wealth, because even though I've caused a global recession, my company is growing. So there's kind of a zero sum there. Another very common one is, if you look up here at this is aging in this case. So what these are, this is, I don't remember the solutions.
Like solving an issue. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have all these issues. They're color coded. So in the first world, people are really worried about aging. And by people, I mean like Peter Thiel, not so much me, but like freaks who think they should be immortal are really, really worried about aging. So when you solve one of those things, you actually take this little crisis chit and you're going to go put it in your area to show that you have solved half of the aging problem, which is great. Now our overlords can live for 500 years instead of dying at 85. Okay. And that is commercialized. There's one last thing, is you're going to physically take this card and you're going to put it into the display. You will get a patent potentially. So I would get a green patent. The exception, of course, is if I had done the work of making smart mobs out of utility. And I'm going to physically take this and put it into the display. If it has two colors, you can choose which side it goes in. Otherwise, you're going to come in here and press this button. And my cube now is showing that this is future shock. This is going to kind of be stuck there. And I am the only one who can use this green band of human progress to potentially make viable future things. Okay. And that's the gist of how we play, just the actions.
I think what we can do is we can start playing, and in a couple of rounds I will ask you, but how do we win this game?
That is a great question. And I like to leave that for a few rounds.
Yeah.
So we're on the same page there for sure.
Sounds great. Good. Who's the first player?
I am the first player. It is set up for that I don't have quite as much wealth as you because I'm a blogger, but because of the natural flexibility of bloggers, as you can tell,
Well,
here I am.
you've got more wealth. You don't have much capital.
Yeah, capital.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So here I am. I'm going to. So I
Well,
get.
wait a minute. Technically, don't you have a PhD?
Yes.
So you would fit more in the doctor category, I
Yeah,
guess. But
I'm a blogger doctor.
yeah.
But yeah. So here we go. So we can begin now. The one last thing we need to do is right here. You have a hidden sphere card. You actually have two of these. You are going to take one of those and choose which color band you want to work toward. So you can pick up both of those. And if people, I won't look at your screen, but if people are looking, there's a very good chance that you have 2 or 3 colors. It's a good idea to start thinking about which color you want to kind of specialize in. That means the colors you want to get companies in and solve problems in, because those will very likely be worth extra points to you.
And I keep only one and I discard the other?
Yeah, so you're going to keep one, and you actually need to rotate it so that it's the correct band is on this like hidden sphere thing. I guess you press the button.
I need to choose a specific band. Okay.
Yes, you do.
Interesting. In that case, I think what I will do is I will do it like this. So the color that is here is the color that I'm aiming for.
Yes, and because this is Tabletop Simulator, I always like right now I just put this card out and flipped it, and now I don't know which side is actually my hidden sphere. So usually when we're playing here, we just we trust each other because
You're doing the color on the top, right? Color on the top.
Yes, yeah, I'm
okay,
putting it
so
on hidden sphere because and I hope it's the right side.
And yeah, I know which side I went for, so
yeah. So as long as you know it, you can do it. And in fact, just for our listeners, I will tell you what I'm doing.
Nice.
So for our listeners here, I'll flip this over. So as see,
you are going for orange. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to go for space because that seems like a big challenge. But there are a few space companies that are out there, so I'm gonna give it a try. Space is kind of risky. Developing world is usually a really good option because there's a lot of spaces that are open in the developing world, a lot of problems to solve. But as a bit of a handicap for Fred, I'm going to go for space.
Nice.
Because I know Fred is going to beat me either way, and this way I can save face.
We'll see about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'll do. So I will start. Let's see. Well, I want to start thinking about space a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is fundraise. So I'm going to move all of my stuff up to capital just to give myself that little bit of a buffer. And then I guess what I will do is, why don't I syndicate something? So in order to syndicate, I want to syndicate exosomatic alter egos. That's horrifying, but let's do it. Let's not think about
that. I was looking at this one and I thought it was super creepy. But yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm going to upload a version of myself so that I can now be a slave forklift operator for eternity.
A version of your assistant. So
yes. In Charlie Strauss's Accelerando, to drive home how horrifying this is, he points out that your exosomatic alter ego, you make it ethically sound by making it autistic. So he is saying that very much as a point to that it is horrifying what these technologies would do. So I'm going to spend 1 because the cost is 1, and then I'm going to syndicate by putting one of my people on it, and that is it. That is very simple. There's no surge, so there I go. I'm done.
Easy. I guess syndicate is probably the first thing that we should be aiming for, right?
It often is, yeah.
Interesting. The thing is that I start with a bit of depth, and the problem is that if I syndicate, I have to move. Unless I take a 0-1.
Yep, you can always syndicate onto the bottom row. It's pretty easy.
So I'm gonna syndicate Nanochondria because it looks fun. So this is 0. So I'm gonna place 1 from the top, so from my capital. And now that I've done this, now I'm gonna do some fundraiser. So I'm not gonna divest anything, but I'm gonna move 2 for 2. So this is gonna go here, and this is gonna go here, and then I'm gonna accumulate capital.
Yep. Very
and
good.
have everything up here.
Okay.
Oh, yes. So we're actually planning on playing all of the PAX games with Dan. So we've done PAX Viking. Dan was not here, but we've already done PAX Viking. We've done PAX Penning, PAX Renaissance. We're doing PAX Transhumanity now, and we're planning on doing Emancipation, potentially Porfiriana, even if I already covered it on the channel. But it's so good that why not? And then we're also going to cover the new ones.
Yeah, I would love to do. And like I was telling Fred beforehand, I have been working on my own series that I haven't done yet, and I may never do because I am so slow. All right, let's see. All right, so I need to start thinking about doing some work. So I should probably, so I'm going to fundraise first. So basically, I'm just moving everything up into capital. But then I will be spending 3 down in order to hire, and I think I'm going to hire into women's health. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I guess I probably need to hire too. So I don't need to fundraise. I'm good. So I could start by hiring. So that's going to cost me 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to take 1 from here. And now I need to think how I'm going to make this viable. So I already have 1 yellow. I would need another 1.
Yeah, so what you might want to do is research nanochondria. So it might be a good idea for you to, instead of thinking about commercializing it, think about commercializing like telomeres.
Okay, yeah.
And
so
then you would want thinker work, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go into protectionism. Yeah.
Very good.
Good. So that's my first thing. And now that I have this, I done my hire. I could research, but it's actually researching here is gonna be awful. Because it's gonna cost me 1, 2, 3, 4. That's gonna cost me 8, right?
No, so let's this is a great time to look over here at this. So this is the active regime. So currently, if the game ends, every problem or company in your hidden sphere is a point. So that's why we picked that hidden sphere. But the current ongoing bonus here is that all work in the developing world is subsidized.
Oh, perfect.
So it would only cost you 4.
That's so cheap.
It is not. It's not bad.
So this means that it's subsidized. So that's gonna cost me 4. So that's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what I'm gonna do. So I paid 4 for this. I have to go down.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go from here to here. I'm gonna go in India. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to do. And now that I've done this, I can discard the lowermost idea. And so that means that this idea here, I could make it part of my think tank.
Yes.
And the cube here goes back into wealth, I guess?
Yes.
So I'm going to put it into my think tank here. My cube is going to go back to wealth.
Yep, and we're going to click this button to refresh the developing world.
Nice.
So your research has done great things for us.
So now I have 2 yellows. So this becomes viable to me.
Yes, it does.
Nice. Which is good because it's absolutely not my objective, but
Yeah. Yeah, all good. Okay, well, I am going to look at this, and I think I might be interested in researching as well. So let's see how much it would cost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because Fred was mean, and I was hoping he would move down onto
No,
education.
I was hoping that it would cost you more if I went there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's very mean.
it was a bit petty because like, it's not, yeah, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah, that's okay. I made my bed, so I am going to fundraise to begin, and then I have to pay 5, which is a lot
A lot of
more.
money for
lot
a little blogger.
Yeah, that is a lot of money for a blogger. Let me tell you. Hey, everyone, support my Patreon, and
Yeah, that's
I will commercialize exosomatic alter egos. So I'm going to do the work. I'm going to move it down here to education, and I'm actually going to gain patents. So I'm going to be taking a yellow and a blue patent as my thing. So this is going to get thrown out, and then new ideas will appear.
nice. So it's back to me. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to fundraise. So it's 1 for 1, meaning that this depth here has to stay here, right?
That is correct. It is trapped.
And all this is going to go up. So that's the first thing that I'm doing. The second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to syndicate the telomere. So that's going to cost me 1. So I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to take one of those to put it here. There is no risks, so I'm not adding any additional dice.
Okay. So I'm going to look at this, and I think that I'm going to have a weird turn. Why don't I just should I syndicate or what? I don't want to spend too much time thinking. I think I'll syndicate here, which requires, unfortunately, that I block this white heat because of bad things. And then I guess I had better fundraise because I don't have that many cubes.
Okay, so now the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to hire. So that's going to cost me 1, 2, and 3. And then oh no. I don't want this one. Okay, wait a minute. 1, 2, and 3. This is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to hire, and I'm going to hire this guy, and I'm going to put him here. And now what I'm going to do is fundraise. So this is going to move here. This is going to move here. I'm starting to get really low on cube right now, but everything is going to be okay soon. I know it.
Yeah, it is. We don't worry about it. If they don't in the real world, why should you?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I'm also feeling a little pinched.
So the thing that I'm wondering about when I'm looking at this, I don't understand how come a blogger has so much influence over human progress.
Oh, well, this might surprise you, Fred, but I write about board games, and the other day Bezos called me up.
Okay.
And he was like, how do you think the United States should be run? And I said, let's do fascism.
And they did.
That's what I said. And they listened to me. So bloggers, we've got a lot of power in the world. Well, I think I'm going to, why don't I hire? I hate to do this because I'm helping you.
Oh, come.
And then I think it's time for me to syndicate smart mobs.
Hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Okay. Doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't care at all.
Yeah, you shouldn't care.
Because I'm gonna commercialize. You know what? This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the big thing. So is it syndicated? Yes. Is it viable? Yes, because I have those 2 things in my think tank.
Yep.
So it's all good. So first step done. The cost is 4 because there is only 1 stop. So thank you. Yep. Actually, that's okay.
I helped you.
times 2 because it's not subsidized. So that's going to be 2. So I'm going to do 1 and 2. So that's the cost that I need to pay. I have a worker. My worker is going to start working for defense contractors now.
Very good.
I mean,
why not?
Yeah, this is where the money is. So that makes sense. And now I will enact the impacts. So as you said, there are impacts on the side of the card. The first one is yellow stuff, which is actually bad for both of us. And that was probably not super smart. And they go to the pool, right?
They go to your wealth.
Oh, so this goes to the wealth.
Yeah, they're just divested.
Okay, that's good actually. I'm happy with that. And then we remove a yellow card here, but there is none, so that's fine. I solved half of aging, so people are not. They still die, but they die really late. So that's pretty cool. And then I get 2 more cubes, and they get into my wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And the cube that was on it,
it will become a patent.
It will become a patent. Perfect. Oh, so actually I moved you away from patent and I'm moving back. So that's pretty good. And then I get 2 cube from my pool to my wealth.
Yep.
Oof. And now I add this into display. Awesome. And now we will check for regime change, which is something that we haven't talked about, but we'll talk about it when we'll have a third card, I guess.
Yeah, we don't need to do it yet. Well, so some things are going to be possible now because there is that. Yeah, go ahead.
Some people are advancing human progress. I just want to say that. And those people are not you. So
that's true. That's true. This lowly blogger, I'm failing in my I'm not good at this game. Apparently. Okay. Well, let's see. Not so good because Fred's being mean to me. I guess I had better fundraise. Push those up. This is how poor I am.
And good point by Olivier. I should wait until the blogger starts organizing smart mobs, which is
smart mobs are gonna really cause some trouble. So I'm going to actually research it. So I do my thinker work. I already paid. I had to pay 4. And so I'm going to be researching this, and I'm going to turn it into 2 patents. To discard smart mobs and refresh this market.
Nice.
Dang, that's my whole turn.
Nice. That's good. I'm happy that you did this, actually.
Good.
The first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to... I think I'm gonna syndicate first. No. I'm gonna fundraise first. So everything is gonna go up. So much capital. I'm happy with that. And then I'm gonna take 2 cubes, and I'm gonna place 1 on the designer protein and 1 on the short-term heat. Which is the GM Luddites, which is definitely something that I'm worried about, but solving. So that's that.
Very good. All right. Well, I think unfortunately, see, I'm playing poorly, Fred, as an example.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that.
I'm playing the way a real blogger would actually play the game.
Oh, and Arnaud is saying that my think tank idea should have went to display.
Oh, that's right. It should have. So here, let's do this. So we'll put this back in the draw
does
pile.
Does it go to display or
no? It replaces. The idea that you had commercialized.
Oh, and I don't remember where it was. Was it?
That's fine. Let's just put this here.
Yeah.
I guess you're here. Well, I'll move it. There we go. So the Anacondia goes there. Thank you, Arnaud.
So it goes to the market, not to display.
So that was the. Let's see. Let me open my rule book because now Arnaud has me wondering. Let's go to commercialize. and viability. Yeah, this says it goes back into the market. So unless the
okay, that makes sense.
voting rules have changed that pretty radically.
So I did my 2 actions. Yeah.
Okay. So like I said, I'm playing badly. So here I'm going to show you what happens. So I'm going to do a sad fundraise where I am forced to take that out.
I didn't realize how poor you were.
Yeah, I'm really poor. I'm what we call blogger poor.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm also going to take 2 of my patents and move them here as well, because that's how poor I am. So this is my first fundraise, and this is embarrassing, but I'm going to do a second fundraise.
Oof, that doesn't sound great.
Not great, no.
Me on the other end, I think I'm going to commercialize another idea. Oh no, this one is going to be expensive if I do it now. What is this question mark symbol? Wild problem impact is a solution in which you can select any unclaimed problem shit. Is it within that sphere or in any sphere?
My understanding is that it really is anywhere. But I can check. Let's see. Any unclaimed problem.
Okay. I think I'm... do I want to do it? I think I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it. So that's going to cost me 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is viable because there is an orange and a yellow next to each other. So this works.
Correct.
And I have a worker here that is going to go here. So that's that. And so it's viable, it's authenticated, and I have to pay 6 because this is what is so there is 3 stops and it's unsubsidized. Oh, wait a minute, I was here, right? So if I was here, was it subsidized?
Oh yes, it is subsidized. Yeah, just pay 3.
So I just paid 3. This is awesome. Ooh, I love subsidies. That's really cool. So now I'm unemployed, but that was totally worth it. And now, so if it was subsidized, does it have any impact on the way I resolve the card?
No. The only thing is you will not get a patent for it.
Okay, so this cube goes back into my pool?
Yes.
Because the patent is obviously...
it goes to your wealth. Yeah,
it goes to my wealth. Oh, this is great. I'm happy with that. So this goes here. Then... Yeah, I have to decide.
You have to have an impact.
Actually, I'm gonna destroy all patents in assembly because I'm not in there. So I think that's gonna be, and that means that the yellow one is gonna disappear.
Yeah, so we're gonna take this out.
No, it's gonna be the yellow one because
I thought you picked orange.
No, I pick orange for. Oh, it's not one or the other, right?
Yeah,
I pick one for patents and one for display.
Correct.
So I take orange for the patents and yellow for the play. So it's going to be I can't seem to be able to take it. Maybe you're...
No, I'm pretty sure you pick one.
One of the 2. Okay.
Yeah, you pick one of the 2. So
yeah, sure. So then that's fine. So it's orange for everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Then I'm going to claim... you know what? I think it's cool. Those ones look really hard to do. I'm going to start solving artificial consciousness.
Okay.
That seems really important. And I really realized how designer proteins really help that in a way. And then
neural networks, I guess. I don't know.
And then I get a cube from my pool to wealth. So that's that. My little cube stays on it. Up.
And you do get to choose which way it goes. Do you want it to be orange or yellow?
Right.
So that's the big choice.
I think. Wait a minute.
I mean, yellow is really powerful.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with yellow.
Okay. Oh, that's still locked here.
Nice. And that's me.
Okay. Oh no, we got to. Oh no, we don't. Sorry, we don't have 3 things in there yet.
No, not yet.
So we're still on globalization. Thank goodness. My gosh. Because I'll just begin by commercializing. So I'm going to do some work.
Arnaud is saying that the think tank card should have went to the bottom, but that's okay. We'll remember for next time. Thanks, Arnaud.
Okay, yep. Yeah, I was wondering if we had put it back in the wrong spot, but I mean, the only way we can make that right is if we put all of your cubes in debt, right? I think that's the
technically, to make that right, I would just have to pay 1 more, so I can move 1 from capital to wealth,
well,
which is what I would have paid if it was here instead.
That's true. Here. That's true. Yeah. Okay, so I have paid, and I paid my patents to make this viable because I had a blue and a green. So I am going to be doing open access research. Very important to me. So I'm going to be solving. Oh, no, not solving. I'm going to be putting a company in the cloud. I think it will solve completely the Big Brother problem. Now, here's a bummer. So I have just created an exoglobal recession. So we must all discard one of our employee cubes to the pool.
Well, I have one that is unemployed, so I guess that's the one who's gonna,
Yeah, he got fired.
Yeah, he was already useless.
Okay. And I get to put this in display. I'll get a patent. Let's see. Yellow. This isn't going to help me at all. Fred, you've played this game many times. You lied.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
I'll just do green. That seems fun.
And yes, Arnaud, that's what Dan was telling me. I thought I could choose one and the other, but it's actually one for all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we go. So now the dominant sphere is now first world. So what that means is the sphere is going to be the last 3 things in the splay. So as you can see, 2 of our 3 are first world cards because we are working on stuff that matters to the first world, which is transbiology. So this is switched to first world. So unfortunately, the developing world is no longer subsidized.
Actually, what Arnaud is saying that if I destroy orange, it needs to be orange in display.
Yes, and that's what we did.
No, it's yellow in display.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So
here,
so that
we'll unlock that. We'll flip it around.
So that means that we don't change the.
Yeah. So here we'll do this one step at a time. Okay. So it is going to continue to be globalization.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. So I guess we're not going to explain that.
No, not yet. Apparently,
still globalization. Okay. So that was only my first action. But let's see. I need to start working on other stuff. I'm falling behind. Why don't I? Well, I'll just do a fundraiser. I'll do the boring option. Okay.
Okay. This is really expensive. And I don't like what's here. I really don't like any of our options. Oh, I know. I think I know what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to pay 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to syndicate this idea here, smart laws.
Ooh, cool. So you get to move up.
So I get to move up, and I can move, but it has to be the one from capital.
Yes, unfortunately, yeah.
And it would go direct to affective robotics.
Very cool.
Double syndication. So that's my first action. My second action is going to be. Well, that was a bit dumb, wasn't it? Wait a minute. Could I have research before? Because do I need to have something syndicated to research? Or
No, you do not.
so maybe I should do that actually. You know what? I'm gonna take it back. I don't remember where it was. Oh yeah. So I had those two that were here. This was here. 1, 2, 3. And I'm gonna research here. So that's gonna be my first action instead. So
Yep.
I'm gonna have to pay the barrier cost, which is super expensive. Actually, it's even worse. Sorry. I do reverse take backsies because research is just yeah, no, it's even if it's subsidized, it doesn't change anything because I'm in the developing world. So that's what I'm going to do. Poof poof, and then I'm going to oh, that's really bad, but I'm going to fundraise. So this is going to go up here. Back to
Okay.
you.
Interesting. Okay, well, I'll hire. Why don't I hire into cynicism? And then, should I do it now? Well, trying to decide. Let's I'm gonna fundraise. I want to see what you're gonna do.
Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to fundraise. So everything is going to go up. So that's going to be nice. That's the first thing, and I really needed to do that. And then I think I'm going to research.
Okay.
So that's going to cost me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Mhm.
That's a lot of. Oh, but if I research, I don't get any patents. That's really going to be really expensive.
Yeah. I mean, you could think tank it.
I could think tank it, which is probably what I'm going to do. So I'm gonna spend the 6 from capital to wealth. This one is going to move down, and I'm going to think tank this. Oh, can I think tank the one on top instead?
No, you do the bottom one.
Oh, I do. It's this one necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sucks. I don't want to think tank it. Oh, this is awful. I hate it. No, I'm not gonna research. I'm gonna hire. So that's gonna cost me 3, and I'm gonna put this in here. I'm gonna work in developing corruption. Just want to make sure that we corrupt more. That's right. That's the meaning of this.
Cool. Okay, so you're done, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I think what I'm going to do is I will be importing bacteriophages.
Oh, yes, of course. I forgot about
and
this.
then why don't we do some research? That seems fun. So I'm going to spend 4 to destroy bacteriophages. And I think I will put it in my think tank. And I'll move this down to here and refresh the market.
I forgot that import thing. Yeah. And Arno was saying that he was surprised that you didn't do it, but yeah, you obviously were.
Hi, Arno.
Well,
if you
now
want to DM me tips.
Yeah. Now I can actually research this, I guess.
You can, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. But it's going to cost me so much money. Oh, if I research it, it's going to be really problematic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a mean game.
It really is. It's super mean.
I mean, the game is literally mean with you. You know, it's yeah. Oh god. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ça fait 3. I need to research it. So I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4. Ugh. 5. And I'm gonna research this. So this is gonna go down here. And this is gonna go into my think tank. And what do I do with the cube? It's back in the wealth?
Yep, put it back in wealth. And now you have the card's ability, which is that you can hire into a utility for 0 cost.
I can hire into a utility for 0 cost. And the utility is...
it's the squares.
Oh, so, yeah, one of the squares.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's still, so this is not a free one. It still takes an action.
Yeah, but I don't really want to hire into utility. Well, it could be useful in the future, but at this point, I don't feel like it's that useful. But yeah, this is in my think tank. That's fine. And with my second action, I'm going to fundraise and put those 3 back up.
Very good. All right. Well, I guess as my first action, I ought to syndicate into nanochondria. And I think I will cover this.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were gonna, because yeah, I mean, cult leaders are not ideal. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna pay for it because I will commercialize. So it's gonna cost me 4. You'll notice I only have 3 cubes, but I can pay for it in part because I have a patent. That patent's value is 1 because there's 1 green in the splay. So moving it back will move it to here and give me 1 to my cost. So then I'll move 3 down to pay for the rest of my cost. Okay, so, and I'm moving this guy down. So we're going to commercialize nanochondria. So now we have to go through all these awful, awful impacts. So the first one is that it is going to be obliterating your patent here.
That's not cool.
And we're getting rid of your telomere extension in the splay. Also, I can solve any problem. Let's see. Exoscience and Earthbound. Are either of those out? They aren't, so I guess it's 6s. I will use it to solve Earthbound. Now we have the mean one, which is the nuclear exchange impact. So this is in the first world, and that means that both you and I must discard one company or problem in that sphere, only visible in the splay though. Oh, there is one in the splay. So you have to discard one of your yellow problems that you solved. So your aging thing got nuked by the nanochondria.
Does it go back here, or is it removed?
Yeah, it goes back there. Okay, so now I'm going to be getting that patent. I did cover this black with my nanochondria, so let's put that in the splay.
Still no change in the order. Oh, wait a minute. I think
these moved for some reason here. I'll push that up. Block them. Okay, so that was my turn. Oh, sorry. Let me put this up here because this is how I did viability. Bacteriophages replaces its spot. Okay.
And you get a cube from your pool into your wealth.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. I was just so excited by nuking you.
Yeah, I can see that. That's pretty awful. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to fundraise, and that's going to make it so that all of this is going back here. So that's what I'm going to do. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to, I think I'm going to commercialize this. It is viable because I have this in my think tank.
You do.
So that's pretty awesome. So it's viable and syndicated. barrier. So we are still in the we are still in the globalization. So the cost is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's actually okay because I have a lot more capital now. So all those 5 are going to go down here. This worker is going to go into education. So that's for the cost, and then I can enact the impact. So I'm going to be able to place the disc on cynicism, or actually anywhere on yellow, but I can put it on cynicism.
So you can put it anywhere on yellow that is a thinker company, or cynicism. If I had a company there, you could wipe me out.
I'm going to put it here in the middle here like this. Okay. And then I kind of solve infirmity, which I guess is cool. So
that's a good thing.
Well, aging is a problem now. So I guess I thought maybe going back into the infirmity business is probably for the best. And this becomes a patent, and I need to choose.
Now, where did you do the work?
Oh, wait a minute. No, I was coming from a subsidized one, so it cannot become a patent.
Oh, and actually, here's the problem, Fred. You can't come from here.
No. Sorry, I was coming from.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
okay.
fine.
Yep, you are fine.
So I can make it a patent, and
yes,
I have to choose. I think I'm gonna go to blue. Here I am. So that's gonna be this, and then I'm gonna put blue in here. And now my think tank goes at the bottom, right? So it goes here. Is this
nice?
Yeah, good.
Yep. Is that where it had been?
No, it was here.
It was here, so yeah, it'll replace in that exact spot where it was before.
Okay.
Was it there? I thought it was up. I don't know. No,
because I used the surge thing here to go up with it, so it was below the one that was here.
Okay.
And this is the one that I just did. Okay. So no new change in world order because we have still 3 different ones. So that doesn't change, and I believe I'm done. It was, I did this. I fundraised and then I commercialized.
Okay. Well, now I need to think about what I'm doing here.
And actually, now is probably a good time to ask you, how do I win the game?
Okay, that is a good thing to ask. So let's talk about these states here, right? So we're on globalization. So there's a few different ways the game can end. There are cards in here called tipping points. The main way for the game to end is somebody is going to purchase one of those. To, I believe, commercialize it. When they do that, then depending on what the dominant regime is, we are going to score in different ways. Generally, the dominant regime will be in one of the 4 colors. In those cases, what's going to happen is whatever that color is, that's the dominant regime. And you're going to get 2 points for every company or problem that you have solved or started up in that sphere, as well as a bonus 1 point for every company or problem in your hidden sphere. Currently, we're on globalization, so there isn't a dominant sphere. Instead, if it ends and we're on globalization, then every problem or company in your hidden sphere is just 1 point. So very straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the other thing, but that's only one way for the game to end. We can also have singularity. If ever there are 5 cards in a row that are the same in the display, the game is going to end via singularity. Singularity is pretty bananas because the only thing that matters is your cubes in here. Those are your future shock. They are making you adapted to the robot revolution or whatever is coming. So those are at each 1 point. We also could end by a tycoon. That's if you get out 5 companies. So you only have 4 company discs. That means if you put out a 5th one, you automatically win.
Okay.
So you own everything in the world. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how you win.
We're far from singularity. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and so the think tank has to go back to the spot where I commercialized, right? So I think that's what Arno was saying.
Correct.
So yeah.
Oh, okay. So is that the
I,
slot? Okay.
Yeah. So I moved it to that slot. Okay. I didn't get that. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I thought that's where it was, but I
misunderstood.
Okay. So I guess I should do my turn then. Let's see. It's time to start thinking about how to actually play the game well instead of just playing for funsies. So I'm going to need a break of about 2 hours. Okay. Well, I'm going to be boring and fundraise first. Because I'm just going to fundraise twice. Why not?
That's pretty boring.
It is boring. I run myself into debt. And also in this game.
I'm wondering what I should do now. Well, I mean, if I hire here and research here, because I could hire for 0 and go here. Thanks. Oh no, I don't have the think tank card anymore, so that doesn't work. Oh.
I mean, if you syndicate this, you'll have the ability, because it's not only think tanks, it's also if you syndicate it.
But it's going to cost me 5 to syndicate.
That will cost you 5.
That's a massive amount of cash at this point. I'm wondering if I should syndicate this and get some more cash. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to syndicate this. It's going to be pretty cheap because it doesn't cost anything. 0. And then I'm going to hire for 3. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3. I'm going to move this and I'm going to hire. I'm back in cynicism. Oh, no. Do I want to be in cynicism?
Well, if you want to research this, you want to be in cynicism, probably.
Yeah, I think I'm going to. But then again, I want the plus. I think I want to. Oh. But the problem is that I need 2 yellows to be able to do this. So I'm not going to be able to do it. Okay, I'm going to. Yeah, no, I'm going to be in cynicism. That's for the best, I think.
Okay. That's interesting. Maybe I should.
Technically, for you to syndicate, it's also going to be free because...
Yeah, I'm actually syndicating because I want to get on this train if you're going to make patents. So I will do that. And then I think I'm going to be hiring. Here, we'll make this cheap for you. I will hire.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be really cheap. Yeah.
Into there.
So it's like a co-op game, actually.
It is a co-op game. Yeah, we're always working together.
So I'm going to research then because that's 0 sounds pretty cheap. So it's the barrier times 2 because it's unsubsidized, and 0 times 2, to my knowledge, is 0. So then I'm going to go into my company here, and that means that I can research this, and I'm going to put it in patents. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into patents, so we both go into yellow. Oof. And this gets removed, right?
Yes, and you get to refresh that market.
Refresh that market. Nice. And that's... so that was my first action. My second action is going to be to fundraise.
Okay. Interesting stuff. Well, I think I need to fundraise a little bit. So I will fundraise. I'm also going to take this guy off.
So you're going to divest, yeah.
And then I think it's maybe a good time. I will syndicate right there.
Okay. I will fundraise once again, so everything will go up here. Yeah, and then I will syndicate for 1. So this will go here, and this one is going to go here. You know, I'm going to try to do good things.
Digital. We could use that right now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be nice.
Good time. I hope that's not too far in the future. Okay, so I will fundraise and then commercialize. Oh, I can't commercialize. Hold on. Let me think about this. I need to get more. Ugh, so annoying. Maybe I will. Need to think about this. So you're going to be digital rights, huh? Well, I will fundraise. And then I think it might be fun to hire.
You're getting really low on cash right now.
I know. I need the cash. I will hire into. Oof. The developing world.
Hey, Marcus. Okay, so back to me. I'm going to research. So I'm going to research here in the first world. So that's going to cost me... I'm subsidized because I'm using something that is in my company. So that's going to cost me 1. Then I'm going to be able to research this. And I'm going to make this a patent. And I'm going to make it a green patent. So this goes here. And now I can refresh this market. Nice.
Well, so remember, with research, it's always the lowermost card.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no.
Here, let me just press undo.
Yeah. Do it again.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that sucks. Okay, so I don't want to research that. That sucks. I cannot commercialize it. Well, then again, if I research this, I can research this in the future.
Yes, you can.
But in that case, what I would do instead is syndicate. So place this and then research. Because that makes more sense. Then I'm going to spend 1 to research. This one is going to go here. We're going to research that one on the bottom. And we're both going to go in orange. Sure, this is what you plan for.
No, don't think of me as planning.
And then I can refresh the market. Okay, now I kind of have a strategy. So yeah, I syndicated and research, and that was my 2 actions.
Rough.
Oh, and if you want, Marcus, we've actually, Wisdan and Joe did a play session like this one of Pax Renaissance.
Oh, yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Did we finish that game?
Yeah, we did. You ended up like we were getting close to 90 minutes, and you actually finished the game in you triggered the end game.
Oh wow. Okay. Who won?
You did.
I did. Oh.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
that's
you did.
cool.
Yeah. Mm.
Good job, me. All right. Oh my gosh, this market is so bad. Fred.
Well, I was really happy that you would, you know, do some research elsewhere. But yeah.
Oh. Well, I think
So yeah, I guess I didn't have to syndicate before doing the research, but I think because I was petty, I didn't want to just give a bonus to Dan, so I did syndicate just before. It was probably certainly useless, and I lost an action for it, but it was just out of being petty.
being mean to me.
Yeah,
A PAX game. Oh, a PAX game, War of the Roses. That would be super. That would be sick.
that would be awesome. Yeah, do it, Marcus. Just
do it.
Yeah, once you're done.
I
with
don't
this
know who
stream,
you are, Marcus, but you
Yeah.
have good. You have ideas. You're doing thinker work.
Yes, exactly. So go there and start working on this. We'll play it. I can tell you that.
I would play it. I would absolutely play it. Okay. Well, I think what I'm gonna do.
Oh, and actually, Arno is saying that you should syndicate.
Syndicating where? Digital rights?
Yeah, because I'm probably going to research there.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of it. I'm trying to decide. Like, I get so caught up right now. You know, for a very brief time, I was playing so much on Tabletop Simulator during the pandemic that I actually kind of got used to it. I'm so bad at paying attention to everything on here, though. Let's see.
It's a tough one. I feel compared to the maybe it's just because it's a different decision space.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's harder than other PAX games. Not really in terms of rules. It's pretty like streamlined, but like the decisions are really hard to make.
Right. You know, I think I'm gonna go. I'll go my own way. I'm gonna import some.
I always forget that we can import.
Yeah, I'm gonna import this, and I will actually syndicate on it.
Okay.
So that's me. So you can go ahead and do your research without me pestering you.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, there is actually a little button for fundraise.
Yeah, there is. It's really handy.
Yeah. Which I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fundraise. Whoop! Here you go. And then I'm gonna spend 3 to hire. So 1, 2, 3. And I can hire from unemployment, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna go.
Yeah, often more effective, especially if you have capital sitting around, right?
Yeah. So I'm gonna put it here, and then my second action is going to research. So it's going to go from here to here. The research cost is 3 because there is no blocks. And I'm going to take this, and I'm going to make this my... actually, you know what? I'm going to make it a patent. In green. This is going to go here. Oh, I'm not doing this correctly. And then I'm going to refresh the market. Ooh, tipping point.
Oh, okay, here's our tipping point. Tipping point. Scary. So that is one of the main ways the game will end. In my experience, it's that or Tycoon pretty much always. So be aware. Okay. I think this might be an exciting time.
Yeah, Pax Kingmaker would be good. Oh, and someone was talking about a samurai themed one. So interestingly enough, I was thinking for like Joe's not here, so I can say that. But for a birthday present for Joe, I wanted to make a mini PAX game. using some of the components of his game, the Pure Land, that he's working on, the coin game. And I was thinking about using the theme and the research and just coming up with like a small deck, like 30, 40 cards, and having a mini like Pax Porfiriana like game that you can play using the components that are in the box. So yeah, maybe I should do that as a small add-on, but only one person will have it, and that would be Joe, and you'll have to go to Scotland to play it.
Well, let's see. I think I'll fundraise first, and actually I'm going to divest this guy because he keeps doing me no good. And then why don't we commercialize neogen farming?
That's going to be expensive. I don't think you can barely afford it.
Oh, and I should have put this here. My bad.
No.
It makes no difference.
Now you cannot afford it.
Yeah, I mean, it was in wealth. It makes no difference. I can afford it anyway. Let's see. Now I can't afford it. I'm going to have to spend some patents in order to do this one. So I have to pay for, there's going to be one. Let's see. Let's look at my patents. I'm not doing much with this. So 2. I'll keep those. 3, 4. Really burning it. I'll do the work. Let's move down into urban China. Let's do some neogen farming. So famine or disease.
Oh, so when you spend the patents, it's how you make it viable, but also it reduces the cost.
Yeah, so I'm not using the patents for viability because up here I have yellow and green.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm using that viability. The patents are currently worth 1 each because there's 1 of each color in the display. Like if there were 3 blue, then every time you remove a patent, it would be worth 3 for a cost.
But so if I'm researching something that is green-blue, I could still sell orange and yellow patents, right?
Absolutely. And they go to wealth. So even if there's nothing in the display of that color, it's still technically worth 1, right? Because you're putting it in wealth and then you can move it down to debt.
And that's not an action, right?
It is not an action. It's just paying costs.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I'm going to do famine or disease. I mean, those both are awful. I'll just take famine.
You created famine. Oh, God.
I created famine. That's our version of. And then I'm going to get a company up here. You talked about cynicism. I have the cynicism company. It's called Meta.
Cynicism Inc. Yeah, that's okay. Pretty creepy.
And then, because I want to actually show an example of this before we finish playing.
So it's actually going to happen, finally.
Yeah, finally. So I'm going to put the display on this so we can look. As you will see, it is now first world, which means every first world company and problem that you've solved. I know I'm giving points to Fred, but I really want to show you how this works. So now we're on first world. So there are going to be surge arrow icons of both colors on each idea. So if you look over here at separation of business and state, you'll notice there's only green. Now it's green and blue. So you can surge a little more easily thanks to first world. Transbiology patents are worth double. So you might notice that patents now are worth 2, but they're actually worth 4, and I have a ton in there. So I can instead, even though I don't have a lot of workers on my board, I can be spending out of there. Also at the tipping point, every first world company or problem will be worth 2 points. So that was my turn.
You actually gave me 2 extra points now.
I did.
Oh, four actually.
I gave you a ton of points, but I really want people to see for a learning game how this regime changes and what that means. So,
and I really appreciate it. But yeah, so I'm gonna do my turn, so we'll have a full round, and I think after that we'll take a break, and So first thing that I'm gonna do, what am I gonna do? That's the question. Okay, just to wrap it up, I'm gonna syndicate here, and I'm gonna commercialize. So that's gonna cost me 1, but I can spend this orange thing and put it into debt instead, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to pay for this. So this is gonna come up. this becomes a patent. I have to
Yeah,
choose.
and let's go through it kind of in order. So you need to spend
Oh
your
yeah,
work, right? And let's also, so you used these 2 patents for viability, correct?
yeah, I did. Yeah,
So we're going to move them out and put them in your wealth.
yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm just being a stickler. So because I
No, no,
know,
no. It's good because I wasn't sure about this process, so that's good. Cool. So now that I've done all this, this becomes a patent.
yeah,
And I
you need
guess
to choose which side you're putting this in. So if you're doing blue, you'll get a blue patent.
I'm gonna do blue.
Okay, and
So I
let's
have
do
to put it
the
in.
impacts. So
Oh yeah,
a company in the developing world, thinker company, you could nuke someone in fatalism if they were there.
but I'm still gonna go in fatalism because I think it's a good spot to be in.
Okay,
And
and you
then I
solve
solve
collective
collective
identity. This one,
which is good because it's 2 extra points actually.
well, we'll see. Because now you're going to change this.
Oh
And
yeah, it's gonna go to blue.
now we're in cloud. So now research always costs 0. Computing patents are worth double. So you took away my insane lead in funding. And at the end of the game, cloud companies and problems will be worth 2. So,
which is good.
Yeah, you do have one. But
yeah, I do have one, and I'm the only one. Oh no, you! I don't have a company.
I have a company. Yeah, I'm a cloud boy.
So now I'm the one giving you points. Oh.
Well, like we said, this is a cooperative game. Because surely free markets lead us to all use rational self-interest.
That's true. This is true. I believe this is true. Great, but let's take a pause here, and I guess we'll see if we can maybe schedule for a catch up of this one. Do you want to make a save on your side? I cannot because you own the.
Okay, let me see. How do I do that?
So it's going to be in the games, top left.
Games. Oh, save. Okay. I am saving it.
So this one feels so different. But I don't have clear thoughts yet. I think I need to play it a lot more. The thing is that when we played Pax Renaissance, I had played it so much before, so I had a lot of thoughts on it. This one, I just discovered it as we played, so I have a lot of ideas, but yeah, it's really. I don't know if it's. I don't know how much of it is. I don't know. I think it might be quite cynical and maybe ironic in some places, but I'm not sure. In a way, I would like to talk to Matt about it to ask him what he thinks. I don't know. Are there like historical notes or stuff like this by Matt in the game?
As far as I know, the footnotes are Phil.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you read them.
No.
They are a bit bananas. Sorry, I don't know if we're editorializing yet.
No. Nothing is editorialized on this channel. Then you should know that.
Okay, I know you are. You exemplify objective journalism. I think it's unfortunate that the footnotes are Phil, because you get everything filtered through just his kind of wacky worldview, and also it doesn't mesh all the way with the game. Like there is some horror in the game, like those nuclear impact icons. The fact that we just like reversed aging. Like we solved aging and then we were like, no, let's not solve aging.
Yeah,
there is horror in the game. It's techno optimist, and I tend to be a techno optimist in certain ways, right? Like I am, like one of the great miracles of the modern world is vaccines, right? Vaccines have done so much to enable us to bypass certain diseases. Technology can do tremendous things, but there are horrors to technology, and some of those horrors are business. Like the inventor of insulin selling the patent for $1. Well, are you buying insulin for $1? Not in the United States. The dominant political party is pushing to make insulin, instead of $35 a month, jump up to something like $600 a month. So this is an absolutely essential. All three of my sisters are type 1 diabetics. They require insulin injections to live, and we have people trying to make it cost prohibitive. So I think that the fact that this game is about the future and about technology, but is also about business and the way that business uses technology, and yet it is still so optimistic, without always being a cautionary tale, kind of puts me in a weird place. Like, to me, I even calling it Pax Transhumanity, I don't think this is really transhuman. I think it's test-realism.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know what test-realism is.
No.
So test-realism is a modern neologism. It's an acronym for kind of where the Silicon Valley set has gone. But this notion, it stands for transhumanism, extropianism, singularitarianism, cosmism, rationalism, effective altruism, and long-termism. And, taken on their own, each of these goals is good, right? We want to do effective charity. We want to extend human life. We want to settle other planets. There's nothing objectionable to any of these on their own. But plenty of philosophers have pointed out that what people have done is, especially like tech billionaires, is have taken these ideals and they like to speak to them, but they use them sort of like a safety blanket for people who have, they're like Christianity for the ex-Christian set.
Yeah.
What they serve as is that we go, oh, well, we should solve problems. We should push for AI, no matter what it does for our environment, no matter how it may harm the global South, as long as the long-term benefits of it is a singularity where we create a machine god that solves all of our problems. There's no actual reason why we should anticipate that any of the promises will come true. So what they're doing is they're imposing a tangible energy cost and resource cost in water and electricity and rare earth metals on people, while basically saying, well, maybe God will save us. Maybe we will make a God that will just solve all of our problems. There's no reason to anticipate that God will actually ever materialize. But because they're using long-termism to justify their behaviors and saying, well, these individual rational actors, these super bloggers and doctors that we were playing as, they know better than the masses. And so the masses can be sacrificed, at least some portion of them, usually racially selected to be the global South. So there's a lot of ugliness that hides under the veil of test-realism and things like effective altruism, which often is used as a way to get around just giving to charity, where you say, well, I'm only going to give to my charity that I have set up and put my family members in charge of, because it's more effective than, say, paying taxes or paying into the public trust or just giving money to local, charities and churches or whatever appeals to you. So there is, unfortunately, I think, a very rotten undercurrent to this game that I'm not even clear whether it understands. I think it's, in some ways, at least reading the footnotes, it's so blinded by this notion that free markets are going to save us that it can't see the perils that free markets have already landed us in. So that's kind of my very simplistic critique. Yeah. What do you think, Fred?
So the first thing about test-realism is that I don't understand how different it is from what we used to call solutionism. Solutionism was it like, how different it is, would you say? Because solutionism was this idea that whatever problems we have, we're going to solve it in the future thanks to technology and science.
Exactly.
So I guess it has been something that, especially, I guess for me, what I see when I see a game like this, and I think we're gonna, as someone who comes with a Marxist perspective, I would say sure. It's the myth of I don't know how to say it. There was a book by Verso that the title was, I can't remember it, but basically this idea that the only way forward is this, and like this mix of big conglomerates that are subsidizing research and private companies that are developing tech, and you have this basic solutionist idea, and I think in a way I'm not even sure it really represents what is actually driving research in the real world. Like, we live in a capitalist society, but if you look at which organization drove technology, most of them were publicly funded. Like, most of the technology that we have, the touchscreen, the basics of AI, was used in the military originally. A lot of the concepts were there. Cryptography was military applications at first. Like, a lot of internet, like all of it. And when I look at this, I feel like it's a bit odd that you have like actors that are poorly defined, that are actually moving society forward. And I don't like the point that it's making superficially, and this is why I would like to play it more, is like a representation of reality that I don't even recognize, not even in a libertarian or capitalistic fantasy, because I don't think that even a serious capitalist looks at this and say this is how research and advancement works, whether it's in philosophy or technology. So this is why I'm a bit baffled by it. As a game, I find it fascinating. The ideas that are there are really fun, but as a modelization of human progress, I'm thinking we've never been there. Even in the most capitalistic society, like in the US, like most foundational research has been done by the public sector. So I don't see it. So
Right.
so I don't understand what it's supposed, like, where in the world does it work like this? I don't see it. Like, you have this idea that you're gonna socialize cost and privatize benefits, and this is how it works normally, and I don't see it here. So I find it a bit odd in that sense.
Exactly. And it's, for me, it's a little bit distressing because there's this question that the game raises, just hidden in the mechanics. Like, when you subsidize something through the public sector, there's sort of this oh, thank you, Olivier. I don't
Yeah,
think
that's actually
I
good.
don't think the Eklunds would let me do that. But there's this notion that, like, you are denied your just reward, right? Because you can't do patents when it's subsidized through the public sphere. It's so engaged in this really strange libertarian myth making that is so far removed from, I mean, so in the United States, one of our president's recent executive orders just over the last 5 days has been to defund cancer research through the NIH. And it's fascinating watching his supporters try to defend that, because now they're basically making up that this has been too publicly funded and it should be privately funded. But all of the major advancements that we've seen have effectively just been publicly funded.
Yeah.
And also, the people that I know personally, so my first love in higher education was bioethics. I was actually in training to become a philosopher in bioethics before I decided that no one was ever going to hire me to sit around and tell them that, gene editing might be bad for you. And I just I'm deeply concerned with this attitude that everything needs to be privately created, when pretty much everybody that I've interacted with who is in the public sector was given a point in their education where now you can go develop things for the military, or you can go into public sector creation of medical cures. And the reason they went into the public sector was generally altruism, that they could have made more money by developing, military experimentation and gene editing, but they didn't want to do that. They wanted to work on curing depression and brain imaging and cancer cures. And, I have many friends in this field who feel like the whole reason they went into this is that this was their opportunity to do good, was to go into the public sector working in bio engineering. And
and that's also a thing that I'm a bit surprised by in a depiction like this, is that I think, to your point, altruism is one of the big motivators of innovation in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at, for example, like open source, most of the people who are taking some of their time to develop software and do stuff like this, like, the profit motive is not as important as developing proprietary software, and a lot of the technology that we use on a daily basis relies on a lot of open source projects. So that's, you have this. You were talking about the insulin patent. Like, the person that sold it for $1 was to make sure that it was going to be easily accessible to everyone who needs it. So and this, so the originally it was out of altruism that the research was made, that they decided not to profit out of it. So it is really interesting in that sense. And now my dog is here telling me that it's time to 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 go outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to keep on having this discussion for sure. Let's see if we can have another time to have a part 2 and wrap it up, and then I can think
Okay.
more about it. But I would like to thank you for taking the time. I don't know which one should we play next. Do you have an idea?
Let's see, what are our options? So people have mentioned
So we have Emancipation that we need to play, and we
Emancipation.
have Porfiriana that we haven't played yet, and the other. Then now we have Pax Illuminaten that has been released. So maybe maybe it should be this. I mean, so we can so I can, at least we can capitalize on the hotness of the game. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, whenever and whichever game you want to do, you just tell me. I'm pretty open on these weekends. You know, it's my host unfortunately likes to say, well, how about we do 2026? And
That's it. It's okay. That's fair enough. I will find a time, and I will be more effective at planning this. I'll see if Ian can send over. The game is out, Pax Illuminaten already, or did you get a review copy of it?
yes, I do have a review copy of Pax Illuminaten. I think it's shipping-ish now, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
Olivier, my hesitation, I would love to discuss it. I have to relearn it because it is the hardest one to play. So I'm going to have to read that rule book. Oh,
Okay, let's go into Pax Illuminaten for the next, and we'll try to do it soon, so it's not too far in the future. You'll have played it, probably written a review on it by then, so that would be ideal. There is one thing that I wanted to say before we end the stream. There were big fires in California, and Roger McGowan, some of you or most of you might know him, has his house who's burned down. There is a GoFundMe page to actually support him in this really tough time, and I added the link in the description. So if you wish to help Roger in this hard times, please go on the GoFundMe page, which is also interesting. Like that in the US, when you lose everything, you have to do a GoFundMe page to get help. But that's another discussion.
It's a form of begging, right? That's
yes.
High-tech begging.
But yeah, help Roger. He's done so much for our hobby. And so look at the link in the description. Right. And yeah, thanks everyone. Have a great evening and see you soon.
Thanks, Fred.
Bye-bye.